So there has been an explosion in the popularity of single-player gaming over the last 2 years. From people boycotting AAA games to the rise in nostalgic games from our childhood, single-player is back on the rise, and I for one am pretty interested in why this is happening. This topic is a bit more detailed than the usual arguments for single-player games. Personally, I think the AAA versus indie debate is a bit overplayed. While it's a valid discussion to have, there's one glaring difference that nobody is seeming to highlight. I remember growing up with games like Mario, Halo, and Call of Duty. My earliest memories of gaming were of me playing through the Halo campaigns by myself or with friends. For the sake of clarity, we're going to be talking about games that have multiplayer and single player built into them from the start, which might seem weird, but trust me, it'll make sense. Playing as the Master Chief all those years ago was a fever dream for most young men in the early 2000s. You were an unstoppable killing machine fighting to save humanity from certain doom. Despite Master Chief's lone wolf and somewhat antisocial personality, a lot of people were able to identify with John in some way. Whether that's the constant pressure of holding things together in life or having just one unique friendship that you hope will last a lifetime. There were a lot of relatable elements of Halo, even though it's a sci-fi shooter set hundreds of years into the future. And now, why is any of this important, you might ask? Because this is the main reason why people played Halo back in the day. The single player. We bought the Halo games back in the day to see the continuation of a story that was beautifully and wonderfully crafted. Imagine a well-crafted game in 2024. We wanted to see the emotional payoff. And I know I'm in the minority here, but I really enjoyed the Halo 4 story. Seeing Cortana fade away honestly brought tears to my eyes because of how much I was invested in Chief and Cortana from the previous games.
I only held enough back to get you off the ship.
No, that's not... We go together.
It's already done.
Which was made even more heartbreaking in Halo 5 when two beings, an AI and a Spartan, were no longer close friends but enemies. Even though you couldn't see his face, you could see that Master Chief was heartbroken and could not leave Cortana and was absolutely devastated at what she had become.
Cortana.
Goodbye, John.
The single player, combined with the gameplay, is what made Halo so strong. It isn't what everyone probably seems to think it is now. It wasn't the multiplayer. This is where it all comes together. After you'd play through the Halo campaign, you'd essentially continue your experience in multiplayer if you chose to. You could play on maps that were taken right out of the main campaign. Imagination was able to flow freely. You could fight other Spartans and use all the weapons imaginable. Multiplayer in the old Halo and Call of Duty games were designed secondarily to the campaign, and I believe that the multiplayer was only successful because of the great job the writers did in the single player campaign. You wanted to be a badass Spartan that saved your friends on Valhalla, or be the best sniper in Ghost Town. Multiplayer games back in the day were not designed around anything but pure fun and enjoyment, but now it's just taken a turn for the worst. Now, I can't believe I'm even saying this, but here we go. Multiplayer has gone from having fun with friends and others online to this bland oatmeal sludge that is matchmaking and balance. There wasn't balance in Halo 2 or Halo 3. There wasn't balance in Modern Warfare 3 either, at least not to the degrees that you're thinking of today. You think that kill streaks on games are balanced? Do you think the Spartan laser was balanced? What made multiplayer so fun was the fact that things were so imbalanced. So why is it now that every multiplayer game is so focused on balancing things and making sure that everyone has an equal playing field? It's money. It's that simple. I couldn't find where I heard this before, but I will link it once I do. I think this was back when Fortnite was really blowing up, but a developer behind one of the games were talking about matchmaking and balances and the importance of it. Basically, some nerd in a cubicle said, hey, if we want people to keep playing our game, we have to make it fun for everyone. No one likes getting steamrolled, so let's just make sure that people are matched with others of a similar skill, which doesn't seem bad on the surface. Well, they didn't stop there. On top of that, how about we take it a step further and make sure that all of the cool, awesome awesome weapons feel as similar as possible so that when people get competitive and we inevitably make an esports league, we have a standard pool that will work for everyone. I understand that the intention of this may have been well and good, but it led to a path of less fun multiplayer. In today's game economy, there are so many people looking to become pro players, and a lot of money has been thrown into esports, which I honestly don't have too much of a problem with, but it's kind of gotten out of hand. If you played any type of multiplayer game over the last 5 years, you've probably had your fair share of other players telling you what guns are meta, or what build to use, and if you're running something that the community deems inappropriate, you're gonna get flamed out of the lobby. And for the sake of transparency, I fell into this cycle for many years. I was kind of brainwashed into thinking that you could only have fun if you were playing a meta build or a meta comp, but they didn't used to be like this, or not as egregious as they are today. If you had a gun or a weapon that you liked, you were just able to pick it up, and if it happened to be overpowered, everyone would try to kill you to take it for themselves, and that was just a general part of multiplayer. Sometimes it was annoying, sure, but most of the time it was a great experience. I remember getting excited when my buddy was able to pick up the sniper rifle in Halo Reach because I knew that it was in the best hands with him, and he could do a lot for our team, but it wasn't like everyone started out with a sniper rifle or something like that. Now, we've talked about multiplayer for a while, and I'm sure you're probably wondering, Noble, why does any of this explain why single player is back on the rise? Well, it seems like people are getting tired of being told what to do and how to play their own video games. Now, I'll be the first to say that in competitive scenes where the goal is to rank up and you're playing on a team, it would probably be in your best interest to work with the team to ensure victory. But that is not in every game, because you run into this in the non-competitive modes of multiplayer games. People are just tired of the crap, honestly. Nobody wants to get on a game and get yelled at because they don't conform to the meta. Nobody wants to get home from a crappy day at the office just to get onto Overwatch and be flamed for their hero pick. People have taken these multiplayer games too seriously. There is nothing wrong with being sweaty and competitive. I generally fall into this category, but you don't have to be a dickhead about it. It's plain and simple. Let people enjoy games. In my last video, I talked about how I've been playing a lot more single player games. Some used to have multiplayer with them, but others never did to start with. I've been enjoying my time a lot more, not solely because I'm playing a single player game, but because it's actually relaxing to immerse myself in a universe with nobody telling me what I can and cannot do. I still play multiplayer games, but it's gone from 99% of what I play to just probably 60%, which may not seem like a big deal, but as someone who spent most of his teen years chronicling online, it's a big change, but it's a welcome one. Game companies are focusing on free-to-play multiplayer games because that's where the money is, but even then they mess it up because they're so focused on balance changes and matchmaking, instead of making a fun game for the player. The games of old had multiplayer, but it wasn't the focus. People loved playing online with others for connection. The connection element is gone for most of these games, which is sad to see. No wonder single player games are back on the rise. There are probably a lot more contributing factors to the rise of single player games, and I'm sure those have been talked about in other videos, but I didn't see a lot of people covering what I just talked about in the video. I am not anti-multiplayer. I actually would prefer if multiplayer games were better, but the reality of it is, multiplayer suffers when that becomes the main focus. Building a game should be about building an immersive area for a player to hang out in, and then if there is a multiplayer element, that should be second. It just seems like today, only multiplayer games are being made, and the single player ones have some online only aspect to it, which is another topic for another video. Personally, I have found myself enjoying a lot of the single player aspects of multiplayer games, like going through the Master Chief Collection, playing all the campaigns, and maybe at the end, if I want to play multiplayer, I will. But as I said in the beginning, part of what made multiplayer so strong back in the day was the universes and crafting that was done in the single player campaigns to make people want to play multiplayer, to continue on as their own version of the Master Chief. I hope you guys found my take on this interesting, to say the least. If you found it helpful or informative, feel free to subscribe, like the video, and if you want to see more of my content, like how to enjoy games again or my rocky relationship with Destiny 2, links are below. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Noble, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.